Welcome back to my YouTube channel, but if you're new here, my name is Brittany. I'm a Chicago-based lifestyle content creator, and we're about to get into my first favorites video of 2025. So I started doing this series on my channel last year, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm gonna keep it going for this year. But one thing I'm doing that's slightly different from last year is I always link to the things like the different products that I talk about in this video in the description, which I'm still gonna continue to do that, but I'm also going to include like on the screen here for anyone that's watching on a TV or on your computer, a QR code that you can scan that will take you to like a like to know it post that will also have like all of the products that I've talked about and links to them. So that can make it easy for like if you're curious about anything and want to still keep watching the video, you can easily follow that QR code to see the products that I'm talking about. But as always, we'll kick off with some of my favorite beauty products from the past month. So like I said, it's January and the air is dry. It's like we're in the really like these are the deepest parts of winter, I guess you could say. And I mean, I feel like my skin, hair, everything is always really dry in the winter, and I don't like that, obviously. So I have like two things that I've been using pretty religiously throughout the past, not even just the past month, I would say even in December, but for sure the past month, that have been helping to like keep my skin moisturized, dry, feeling, or not dry, moisturized, feeling fresh. And the first one of those is something I never would have bought this on my own, but I got this as a Christmas gift, and it is an exfoliating lip scrub from Bath and Body Works. And the only reason, and this is in the champagne toast flavor, scent, whatever, and the only reason I say I wouldn't have bought this myself is because I just don't go to Bath and Body Works like at all. I honestly didn't even know that they sold lip scrubs like this, but I got this in a Christmas gift. And my lips had been so dry, I would say basically starting from like Thanksgiving time, really, when it started to get like pretty cold. And I mean, the like cold air came in out of nowhere, so I feel like I wasn't ready. But my lips, I feel like were so dry and like kind of peeling, and or just like constantly felt like they didn't feel good and fresh, not like how I would like them to. So I was like, oh, I feel like I need to like find a good lip scrub, and I just hadn't really looked into one. And then I happened to get this one for Christmas, and I was a little skeptical, to be honest, because it's Bath and Body Works. Like, I was like, do they make products like this? Is this what they're good at? But I basically started using it as soon as I got it because, like I said, my lips were so dry. And I would say within like 1 or 2 days, I felt like my lips felt totally new. Like they were very supple. Like I felt like all the dead skin was totally gone, and the flavor or taste or whatever, I guess you would say, like it wasn't as, I didn't like taste weird or anything, because again, the champagne toast, like Bath and Body Works is known for, I feel like, their like strong fragrances. I was nervous about putting that on my lips and being like, is this gonna taste or feel weird? And it didn't. And like the scrubber, like exfoliating, like scrubbing part, I feel like dissolved in really well. I actually just used it again this morning when I did my skincare. First few days I was wearing it, I was just literally like lathering it on top of my lips and letting like the scrubby like parts just stay on until they like pretty much dissolved away. But like now when I'm using it, I've still been using it in the morning when I do my skincare and sometimes at night, but I just like will rub my lips together to get everything to like dissolve. But I really like it. I mean, I've been using it for like a month or so, and I feel like I've barely even made a dent in it. It does smell pretty good too. And let's see, it says it's formulated with jojoba oil and beeswax. I wonder if those can't be the only 2 ingredients. There's got to be some more stuff in here. I actually can't get to like the where they, okay, this says only use 2 to 3 times a week. I'm definitely, or it says or desired. I'm definitely using it much more than that. But I can't, like, I would say like I'd highly recommend this. And I mean, it, like, let's see, it says it's $10.95. Like Bath and Body Works is always doing like deals and sales, so you could probably get this for a pretty decent price. But this is something in these dry winter months that I would definitely recommend. Another moisturizer type of thing that I have been loving, and now that I'm thinking about it, I might have shared this on my January favorites video from last year, but I'm running it, if I did, I'm running it back because I love this. Like, this is the Sephora collection all day body hydrator with shea butter. And I mean, this is, since it's a Sephora collection, it's pretty inexpensive. I want to say this is maybe $16 or so, and it's 13 ounces in like a pretty like decent sized jar. But this is so, it really is very hydrating, very moisturizing, and it's not very heavy. Like I also use the To The People body butter, and I do really like that too, but that is very thick and not quite oily, but it's very moisturizing. So I usually use that like if I take a shower at night, or like if I do shower during the day, but I'm not planning on like working out or doing anything after that. But like this is just a good literally all day anytime hydrator, and I'll use this a lot of the time too, like after I wash my hands, like, because I feel like that's also why my hands get so dry in the winter, because I'm washing them a lot. They're already dry. It's like more water going onto them, more soap and water. And so I use this a lot, like midday sometimes if I feel like my hands are looking really dry, or if I'm about to like step outside or like leave the house, I'll just like put a little bit of it on. But I really love it, and it's fragrance. Yeah, it is fragrance free, so there's nothing overpowering or whatever about it, but I really love this. I can't recommend this enough. And I feel like I actually do talk about this a lot to different people. So if you've heard me recommend this before, I'm back to say it again. I can't recommend it enough. So those are two things that I feel like are really keeping my skin in good shape this winter. Some other winter category products that I'm sharing today too are in the clothing realm, which I don't usually always share like clothing or like style or whatever favorites, but these I feel like again are great for like wintertime survival. So I just like found out about this product line, I would say maybe in like November time, like around Black Friday, or maybe, yeah, because it was like right when I was starting to do Christmas shopping, so maybe even the beginning of December. But it is the Heat Tech line from Uniqlo. So what I have right here, these are the tights. So these are the Heat Tech tights, and obviously I haven't worn them yet because I still have the packaging on them, but I also bought like the Heat Tech gloves, and they're just like a cotton or a wool type of glove with the tech fingers on them, so I can still use my phone if I have them out. And then I also bought like leggings, which I basically just wear as like long johns, and I am obsessed with them. Like I like Uniqlo a lot in general for basics, but I feel like for tights especially, like I said, I haven't actually worn these, but they had a version that you could like test out in the store to like see, like they just have a really good stretch in them, and it is kind of hard to find good tights to wear during the winter time. Now would I wear these with like, if it's like 4 degrees outside? No, but if it's like 30 or something, I feel like this is something good to add, like just an extra layer of warmth. And the leggings, or I can't remember what they're called, I think they are technically called a legging. Like I said, I'll link to everything like in the description or on the QR code. The first time I wore them like underneath, it was like a day that I was going to be outside kind of a lot in the evening time, and it was pretty cold. Like I want to say it was maybe 20 degrees or something that day, and so it was gonna, like at night it was going to be pretty chilly, and I wanted to wear these like cute pants that were very thin though. So I mostly, that's like that was my first time wearing them, so I put those on underneath my pants. I was actually getting hot at points because of like how much they were trapping in like my heat, which is good, but it was just, they worked so much better than I expected. And the gloves, I've been wearing them a lot because it's been pretty cold here for the past week. Like it was in the single digits earlier this week, so I have been wearing them a lot like when I've been outside. And I do like the tech, like being able to still use my phone, and it does work pretty well. Like a lot of times those like tech kind of gloves are very hit or miss, and I feel like they don't actually work a lot of the time to still use your phone, but these do. And I feel like the products, the reason I even bought these tights and everything is because they were on sale. So like the day that I happened to be at Uniqlo, they were having a sale on like a bunch of stuff, but also like this line in particular. And they're decently priced anyway. Like these are $19.90, which for tights is a little on the higher end, but again, these seem like really good quality, and the warmth is worth it. And I want to say the gloves were maybe $10, if even that much, and then the leggings were somewhere in the teens too, so pretty decent, or maybe they were in like low 20s, but still I feel like a pretty good deal for the quality. And like I know that I will wear them a decent amount. Like I've been wearing those leggings a lot, and the gloves I've obviously been using every day, and I feel like even going into next winter I'm sure I'll reuse them too. So they are, again, if you're in like a cold weather place or visiting anywhere that's cold, I would definitely recommend trying out some of the Uniqlo Heat Tech. They even have like scarves and stuff too, but I would definitely recommend trying out some of these products to keep yourself warm. Okay, so moving now into music. So starting with my favorite album of the month. So this album, I have ordered this on vinyl, and I thought I would have had it by now, but I haven't gotten it yet. But anyway, it is Doechii's album, well technically mixtape, Alligator Bites Never Heal. So this is not a new album. It's new. It was new to me over the past like month or two, but it's not like a totally new album. This actually came out in August, and yeah, I think it was in August. And I wanted to, when I heard about it, I wanted to listen to it because I'd heard like Nissan Altima and like what is it, Block Boy, and some of her, like I knew of Doechii, but like, and I'd liked those songs, but I just didn't know, Doechii like that. And so I meant to listen to her album, and I just never did somehow. And then when Grammy nominations were announced in, it had to be like December, the beginning of December, and she is nominated, like this album was nominated for like best rap album, and she's nominated for like best new artist. I actually have a Grammy, like a Grammys video that probably would have posted just before this one, but anyway, it'll be on my page somewhere, where I talked about my like Grammy predictions, and I did talk quite a bit about Doechii. But anyway, I like when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's right, I wanted to listen, like when I saw that list, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I wanted to listen to this album. So then I did go back and listen to it, or mixtape, but I'm gonna keep calling it an album. And so it was, yeah, around like the beginning of December, and then I got into my Christmas music bag and kind of stopped listening to it, and then I like picked it back up again this month. But I was just so, as I was listening to it, I was like, wait, I'm kind of obsessed with this. And I was like, wait, why have I been sleeping on Doechii for these past few months? And then she also did, right around that same time that the Grammy nominations came out, a performance on the Colbert Show that was really, really good, and an NPR Tiny Desk concert, which 12 out of 10 would recommend. And I feel like she maybe did another performance that I'm forgetting about. But anyway, I am a Doechii stan now. And I just like, first of all, she's really stunning. Like she's really like, talk about cheekbones. Like, I mean, she even called herself the Trap Grace Jones, and I would 12 out of 10 like agree with her. So she has a very cool like style, like her actual like personal style, and then even just like I feel like the way she carries herself, like her hair, like the way that those girls had their hair braided on the Colbert Show was very, very cool too, like braided together. But the album itself was, I don't know, I like really liked how she sounded, like her flow, I guess you could say, and just like the way that she raps, I feel like sounds very different than a lot of female rappers rappers in general, but especially a lot of like the rap girlies that are out right now. And she like, it kind of, sometimes she sounded a little bit like ODB in some ways, but she was like very fun and playful. And she also though is a kind of a singer too. So it's like, it's a cool like mix of hearing all of that throughout the album. Like I said, Nissan Altima was a single that was out in like all over TikTok for probably most of last year, so I feel like most people have heard that song. My favorite songs from the album are probably Wait or Slide. Those would probably be like my top two. But it's just really fun to listen. It's like very, it felt like very fresh and like refreshing to listen to. And I actually was just listening to it again right before this video to like remind myself of like what I wanted to talk about it. And I was like, wait, this, I didn't want to turn it off, but I was like, I need to do this. But it's just so, I do really like her, like just her artistry and like the way that she raps and like the stuff that she's talking about too. Like it is, I mean, she's a lot younger than I am, probably like 10 years younger than I am, but like Denial is a River, just like the way that she talks through that, it's just fun to listen to, or like, I don't know, it's really engaging, I guess, to listen to is maybe the right word. So I'm excited to see like what Doechii is kind of, I guess, like do with the rest of her career from here, because I feel like she can only go up. There's also rumors that she might be opening for Kendrick and SZA on their tour this summer, which I am going to. So if she does, I hope that I get to see her live. Anyway, I have really been loving her album slash mixtape, Alligator Bites Never Heal. So if you haven't listened to it, I would definitely recommend it. Okay, and then as far as my favorite song of the month, so this is also a song from that was new to me but not new, but it is Paralyzed by Lucky Daye featuring Raye off of his album Algorithm that came out last summer, June 2024. So I also had not listened to this album. I really tried to keep up with like new music last year, but there were just so many albums coming out. I somehow missed Lucky Daye's album, and I listened to it when I was going through like all of the Grammy nominations. I like knew a couple of Lucky Daye songs, and he's nominated for like best R&B album and maybe one or two other things, but I listened to his album, and then again, this was just in December, and I actually really, really like this album too. But one song in particular that I really like, and I feel like I've listened to a lot, is Paralyzed. And I will say I'm usually not like a love song kind of gal. Like I obviously like some, I love ballads, I will say, but like the sappy, like, oh, I love you baby, like I think it's a little old sometimes, but this song, it just sounds so beautiful. And I love Raye, and like hearing both of their voices together that are very different, but they work really well together. They just sound, it sounds so like warm, and like it feels like a big hug kind of. So that's a song I've really been liking in general, like the whole album, but especially that song is one that like really stuck out to me. All right, now moving on to my favorite TV moment of the month because this isn't really a show, but it is a documentary, and it is the documentary, or the CNN film is what it's technically called, Luther. Never Too Much, about Luther Vandross. I just watched this a couple days ago and I am obsessed. Like I mean, I've always liked Luther Vandross. Like I grew up, I feel like most Black people, like listening to Luther Vandross like as a staple. But as I was watching this documentary, I was like, I realized I know nothing about Luther Vandross, like the person. And it was really, really interesting and really eye-opening. I will say my one gripe about this is that you have to like it's really hard to watch this, and by that I mean it's hard to have access to watch it. So you have to have a cable subscription or a CNN whatever subscription, and I didn't really have either. So when this first came out, I was like, shoot, how can I watch this? And I thought I'd just be able to watch it on demand, but I happened to re-sign up for a month of Sling because I wanted to watch the Australian Open and one other thing that was coming on this month, and I was like, oh, and I want to watch this Luther documentary too. So like then I was able to watch it through that. But I will say that is my one gripe, is it's really hard to find to be able to watch it, but once you watch it, it is really good. So it's just, I mean, in general, I love a biography, a documentary, a biopic type of a vibe, and especially about like artists. Like I miss this type of like level of artistry where it's like how I just said I didn't know anything about Luther Vandross's life, but I loved him as an artist. Let's get back to that. I don't need to know the down and dirty details about people's life. Like I would love to know less about people in general, but especially celebrities. Like I don't need to know all of this like information to like still love and enjoy them like as an artist. And I honestly feel like the less that you know about someone and you still like them speaks even more to like their performance, their artistry, and all of that. So anyway, Luther Vandross was doing it right, but he was truly carrying the music industry on his back in the 70s and 80s, and I had no idea. He was singing background tracks for everyone in the industry. Like he was literally the most popular like background singer in New York, and he was making a really decent amount of money, like a really good living from just doing background vocals. So many different jingles. He was on Sesame Street even before he started doing all of that. He was on Sesame Street, and like you could just tell like in a lot of these clips that they were showing of him from when he was like getting his start and like was just singing, like you could tell how much he loved to sing and perform. Like you could just, I feel like, see it coming through like his performance. And he even like went to college briefly but left after a year. He was like, that was not for me, I need to get back to singing. So, and like it took him a while. Like who was it Roberta Flack, I think, that who told him, no, you need to become a solo artist. Like you have your own sound, your own thing, like try and do that. And so we have her to thank for the Luther Vandross that we have now. And the fact that Never Too Much didn't win a Grammy, never charted on the pop charts, like that is crazy to me, because to me, like that is one of my like favorite songs of all time. And I just thought it was a really, really popular song, because I mean it's a really good song, and it's like listening to it, it is such a good song. And it's just so like, I don't know, Luther Vandross is just so like, I said, you can, like how I said, you could feel the joy coming through him when he's singing, or the sadness, or whatever it is. And in this like documentary too, they were talking about how he didn't win a Grammy for 10 years, like the first or 9 years of his career, he never won a Grammy, which is again crazy, because like I said, he'd just been like doing all those background vocals for so many people for years, like so many big artists. And then those, like his music is, again, it's so good, it's huge, it's Luther Vandross, and he didn't win a Grammy for literally 9 years, which is great. Like that was like, when they said that, I was like, I find that hard to believe. And I actually pulled up his Wikipedia just to fact check. I mean, not that I didn't think they were lying, but I needed to see it for myself. But I mean, the saddest part of it all is that I mean, I don't know if they like really do outright say this, but like that he was gay and like didn't feel like I guess they actually technically do say it pretty outright, but that he just didn't feel like he could be, which is, and it's really sad, but he didn't feel like he could be his true self and still be Luther Vandross, like the heart, because he was like a heart throb essentially, and like singing these like singing like songs that women loved about love and like talking about how to love, like how to be in love and all of that. And he just in that era didn't feel like he could do all of that and still be Luther Vandross. And like that was something that he just like struggled with for a lot of his life. And then his weight gain issue, like his weight issues, I don't remember that about Luther Vandross like at all. I don't remember like the stroke that he had that like essentially that left him in a coma for so long and essentially like was his final demise. I don't really remember hearing, like I guess I was pretty young, like I would have been in high school I think then, maybe high school or middle school, and I don't remember seeing, and I guess it's good that I don't remember seeing that side of Luther Vandross. I just remember him as like the great performer. And so it was kind of sad to watch that back and to see just how like, I mean, he struggled, like this is very much proof of how obesity is a disease, and like he was struggling with it like throughout his whole life and going up and down, and it led to him having other health effects or health issues too that like affected his life overall, and like also his other people in his family struggled with the same thing too. So it's just sad to know that like this person who was like creating this like beautiful music was living this like, I don't know, like was also struggling with so much on the inside too, like personally. So I will say though, like it was, I can't recommend, like I think it's something like I would highly recommend watching. It was, like I said, really enjoyable to watch. I want to say it might have almost been 2 hours long, but I just kept, I was so into it, and like the music was so good, and it was just like, it was a really, really good watch. So if you can find it, I would definitely recommend watching it. Lastly, closing with my favorite movie of the month. So this is a movie that is actually on Netflix, not something I saw in theaters, and it is the movie 6888, which is directed by Tyler Perry. And if you are like me, when you see Tyler Perry's name on something, you go, whew, and are a little bit afraid of it. Like, is this even going to be good or worth the watch? This was really good, and I'm really glad that I did watch it. So it's starring Kerry Washington, and it's based on a true story, and it is about the 6888 battalion. I think they're a battalion. The 6888, which was a group of women, a group of Black women in World War II that essentially like they were in the army when the army was still like very segregated, and they also were women, which makes it like 10 times harder too. And they were sent to Europe to sort through like this huge mail issue that was going on with like the US Army. And so basically there was like millions and millions of letters that hadn't just been getting delivered either back to soldiers' families or to the soldiers who were stationed in Europe during the war. And so no one was able, like families weren't able to communicate at all, which was affecting like ultimately the morale of the soldiers like who were on the front lines like fighting in the war. And Eleanor Washington was kind of the big proponent behind this to like figure out like how to fix this. And so the 6888 is who they were put in charge of. Basically it was an impossible task that like no one really thought could get solved, but they like asked them to figure it out, which that speaks volumes. Like sending this group of Black women to solve a problem that nobody else can solve, and then they solved it in record time. They were given 6 months, I think it was 6 months to like sort through everything, and they did it in 90 days. And obviously they faced a lot of hurdles, a lot of racism, a lot of like they were put into like the barracks that they were put in to live in were rat infested. Like it was just a horrible scenario, but they made the best of it, and they ultimately like they solved a problem that nobody else could, and they did it in record time. And then they were sent to another station to like basically do the same thing. Like I think first they were in England and then they went to France, or vice versa. And two of their soldiers actually were killed by a bomb at one point too. So they weren't even like fighting in the war, but they still like lost people in the war. By the time, so there were still, I think the beginning of last year, still a couple of them, like 5 that were living. I think it was in 2024 still, sometime in the 2020s. And that's like when I think this Big Sean, the rapper, his grandma was actually in this battalion too, which was kind of crazy. So anyway, one of the main characters in the movie, the real woman behind her, was involved in like creating this movie. So I mean, it feels like it's, I'm sure, pretty accurate. And Charity Adams, that's who Kerry Washington plays, she is the major, and she ended up being at the time the highest ranking Black woman in the military. like as she like moved through the ranks. I thought it was a really good, like it was a really good movie. It was very interesting to watch. Again, for Tyler Perry, I was very impressed. I personally thought it was good. I definitely think it's a really great watch because it's very much an untold story in history. I feel like it's also something that could still be in a lot of ways relatable to people today, unfortunately, because you could see like being put up against an impossible task, people thinking that you're not able to accomplish it, and then you do still accomplish it by and large, and then still not really get any recognition because they like literally this is pretty much the first time, what, 80 years later, that they're even really being recognized for all of the work that they did. Like when they didn't have, there was no like parades, like when they came home from the war, there was no like ticker tape parade or anything for them, so they were just put back into like all blacks, like, which is a very much a very much a common theme for Black soldiers that fought in World War II, especially, and the Vietnam War and the Korean War. Like they would go and fight for America in these other lands and then come back to the US and still be treated like second-class citizens, which is essentially what happened to these women too. But it's a really good story, like I said, so I would definitely recommend watching it if you have a chance. So those are all my favorite things from the month of January. I'll have links to everything, like I said, in the description. But if you've tried any of these things, watched any of these things, or have any recommendations for me, I would love to hear about them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.